given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business. Not because they want to do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shit.
Hey guys, I got one more story to share. And this is about making rank, but more importantly, showing support to those who make rank. I think sometimes that gets lost because we see each other as competitors as opposed to family. And I would just like to share this story with you. It's my last one that's scripted, I promise. Maybe I'll do more later on. But again, I kept this one scripted because I want to make sure I get all the relevant points out. There's a lot to share. Time flies by, and the chance to move up in rank had arrived for me. I was on the job for a little over 3 years when I made my first attempt at becoming a sergeant. At first, I didn't even ask myself if I was ready, because I thought at the time I knew enough to begin the move upward. So I saw the opportunity and placed my name on the list for the exam. Usually it can take about 3 to 4 months between when the exam is announced to when it's actually given. Looking back, I now realize all because someone is eligible to become a sergeant doesn't make them ready. There was so much that I had yet to learn at the time. My view of a sergeant's responsibilities was limited to only what I had directly observed. Basically, the how of what they do. The how of the jobs that they are assigned. As a sergeant, they take the lead on the floor. They are the initial problem solver for most situations that can arise throughout the day. Besides the daily assigned responsibilities, they are the ones who get called first to any emergency that may arise. They are trusted and empowered to make major decisions that can carry serious consequences. Sergeants are the first go-between for frontline and higher level management. And most importantly, they are the initial position that connects itself to a very high level of responsibility. A responsibility that should never be minimized or tossed aside. This responsibility should be one of the key factors when deciding to move up in rank. Taking responsibility of the team. Would I be willing to take on the responsibility of someone else's work? Someone else's mistakes? Would I be willing to give credit to someone else for the work that was accomplished under my guidance? For many correctional officers outside of corporals, becoming a sergeant may be the first time an individual takes on full responsibility for the collective or individual work of others. As a leader, this is essential. Sad to say, but there are many supervisors who look to take the credit when the team does good and isolate themselves when the team does bad. During rough times, their only effort goes into protecting themselves, or as some would say, covering their own ass. It takes tons of courage to stand behind your team when the water truly does get rocky. And even more courage to step up and take the hit when the team fails to produce. Again, I asked myself, would I be willing to take on the responsibility of someone else's work, someone else's mistakes? Would I be willing to give credit to someone else for the work that was accomplished under my guidance? I know if I wanted to become a sergeant, if I wanted to continue to lead into my next position, then I had to become a sergeant. As a sergeant, I must do what I can to stay connected to the people I lead. Key word is lead. As a sergeant, I wanted staff to choose to follow me as opposed to being forced to because of my position. Taking responsibility of the team will reinforce the bond needed to maintain a solid team. A solid team is a direct reflection of their leader. Taking responsibility shows that we're in this thing together and maintains my true position as my brother, sister's keeper. Also, as a sergeant, I must be willing to give up that spotlight. It wasn't about me. There's no room for just me as a leader. It was about the staff directly in my charge. It was their time to shine and find value. It was my duty to reinforce their want to feel something great behind the work they accomplish. It was my job to make sure that they knew that their hard work and effort was appreciated. Now, that's a lot to ask of someone, but that doesn't mean it can't be done. So going back to my original questions, am I ready? Am I ready to take on all the above so I'm more than just a damn supervisor? Yes. Because I continued to learn something new every day and would continue to learn as I moved up. I knew I wasn't going to be perfect, but I didn't want being perfect to become my excuse. Remember, there's one very important thing about my time as a rookie. I learned very early to ask myself why. And that why helped me discover my purpose very early in my career. My duty was to find value in the work I do so I can bring value to others. As a sergeant, I'd be bringing that with me onto that next level. So when it comes to the most important choice, the choice to take responsibility, give credit when it's due, and to care for the people in my charge, I was already a veteran. I was looking to build a life and not just a career. I didn't make rank the first time around. First time I took the test, I didn't score well enough. Wasn't scored well enough to get selected to become a sergeant. So I wanted rank, didn't get it, but I didn't feel defeated. Sure, I was upset, but I wasn't discouraged. My time would come. In the meantime, when the results got released, I noticed something very disturbing. Something that really separated us as a family behind the wall. I noticed jealousy, envy, and resentment. Instead of supporting an individual's professional growth, some saw this as a win-loss. I noticed when there are limited opportunities for promotion, limited opportunities for growth, competition ensues. Instead of support that's needed to cultivate soon-to-be supervisors into leaders, some individuals become selfish and can only see someone else's gain as their direct loss. It's amazing how competitive staff can become when opportunities are limited, and everyone that looks to move upwards becomes desperate to seize their moment. Months prior, when staff was studying, I saw what I believed to be unity. Staff were working together, helping each other by asking questions and jointly finding the answers. Once the results were posted, I could easily see that some staff shifted from being generous and selfless to being jealous and envious. I noticed for some staff, they viewed going for a promotion as competitive. Even though there was a joint effort in studying and helping each other succeed, some staff were solely motivated to seek information and not necessarily be supportive. Even though some may believe that being competitive helps productivity and growth, in some cases it can actually do just the opposite. Competition can actually separate and isolate staff. Instead of working as one, the environment begins to shift to a win-loss atmosphere. Information gets hidden as everyone battles to attain the next rank or promotion. At this point, staff have become nothing more than competitors, competing with each other as if it's a competition. And the sad thing is, guys, is some staff will do whatever they can to pull into first place. Simon Sinek compares the above to a race. It's like tripping the next runner. Sure, you'll win the race, but you're still a slow runner. It took me 8 years and 2 tests to go from officer to sergeant. During my second attempt to move up, I partnered with a great study buddy. Even though we were both looking to attain the same position, he didn't view me as a competitor because he knew that this wasn't a competition. If he received information that he thought was beneficial, he shared it. He invested time in me as I did in him. Eventually, I scored high enough to make rank, and sad to say, he did not. I just couldn't understand how this could happen, how his name wasn't next to mine at 140. We studied together. We learned the same exact things. It just didn't make any sense. I remember going through the top of the list multiple times to see if I missed his name, but his name wasn't there. As I finally decided to go down the list further and further, I finally saw his name. In order to make rank, he would have to be within the 200 range. Unfortunately, his score placed him around 800 on the list. Be mindful, because there are hundreds of staff taking the test. Even a tenth of a point could drop you dramatically. I was devastated. Even though I had scored high enough to be selected, I felt alone. I felt that we were on this journey together and only one of us made it to the destination. I also felt guilty. Could I have done more for him? He helped me, and I failed him. Feelings of guilt and of being alone overwhelmed me. I connected those feelings to my success. And I invested my time in wanting him to achieve, and I couldn't grasp how this could happen. Outside of being selfish, I didn't know how to take my success. And it was at this moment I received a call from him. He was genuinely happy that I had scored high enough on the list to be selected. I kept trying to bring the dialogue back to him and apologizing as if I was the one in charge of the results, but he wasn't listening. He stated that this was my moment and that I should enjoy my accomplishment. It was well earned and well deserved. He wanted me to remain focused on me because this was the time to move for me forward. And he wanted me to move with confidence and with no regrets. We worked together through this whole process, and my success was truly intertwined with him. If it wasn't for him, my first big step forward would have been if it was to happen at all years later. He justified his inability to make rank by simply saying it wasn't his time. He never looked within himself and found fault for not securing rank, but rather was merely situational. It's a very healthy way for looking at the setbacks many will face throughout their careers. It kept his focus on external factors that were temporary and moved away from anything internal that could be viewed as permanent. It also enabled him to provide true support to others because he didn't see their ability to succeed as a reminder of his failure. Basically, he never put himself in a position to be inferior to others when they outscored him and made the move upwards. I learned through him that real support is not conditional. Investing in someone, helping them to succeed, should never be in conflict with personal gain. If we were to be our brothers and sisters' keepers, if that's what we're about, then we must be prepared to make sacrifices, even if this means swallowing our pride and truly being supportive of someone who was awarded the position we wanted. He also pointed out something that most people who are solely focused on the outcome would easily overlook. He showed me that the journey studying and preparing for the test is the greatest reward. Think about what we have learned in these last few months, Gangi. Think about the knowledge we have and how better we are at doing this job. For me, it wasn't about getting the promotion. It was simply about being better than I was the day before. I realized that day, all because I ranked higher than him on the test doesn't mean I was better than him. His knowledge was on par with mine, if not better, and his ability to do the job was beyond exceptional. I also learned that the effort one gives is way more powerful than the outcome one receives. Say that again. I also learned that effort one gives is way more powerful than the outcome one receives. As a leader, this train of thought is essential to keeping oneself motivated through the toughest of times and the hardest of setbacks. Throughout the years, we still remain in touch with each other. As I continue to move up, he has remained in the same position. He has tried multiple times to secure a higher rank, but he seems to fall short each and every time. With that said, he always seems to remain pleasantly optimistic. I use the word optimistic over being positive because being optimistic, as Simon Sinek would say, it's not the denial of reality, but rather the belief that the future is positive. He is a proud senior correctional officer with 16 years of experience under his belt. We still talk from time to time, catching up on what's new, but more importantly, just going back and remembering the good old days. Sometimes we get so caught up in the past, I forget that I'm currently in administration. We laugh as we share the many stories of working the floor together and the good times we had that at the time we thought would last forever. Looking back, he taught me some very invaluable lessons. First, he taught me humility and humbleness. Sure, I may be in the higher position, but he keeps me grounded and connected to my roots. His personal investment in me as we both were making the effort to move up, and his genuine concern for how I'm doing and where I'm at now showcases a great level of support and loyalty that I must forever pay back. In essence, he knew and valued the importance of staying connected with me, and through that connection, how I can be more effective. Second, I was truly nervous about moving up, about taking that next level of responsibility, and his support showed me that I was capable. Even though he didn't move up with me, his support and reassurance convinced me that I was worthy of the next level. As a leader, one must look to empower and motivate, even if it comes at great sacrifice to personal gain. Connie Eileen said it best on a wonderful episode of Tier Talk. If frontline staff allow a future supervisor to be disconnected from them through lack of support during their move upwards, then frontline staff is allowing the future supervisor to be disconnected from the realities of how they need to be supported. Today, as my friend prepares to do another round on the tiers, and I myself prepare for another day of administrative duties, I ask myself, are we really that different? Our careers may have taken two totally different paths, but neither path is more valuable than the other. As management, I feel confident in my ability to do the job because I have someone like him, packed with experience, leading the way on the front line. For him, I believe he's able to move forward and walk those tiers with valor, confidence, and pride because he knows he is protected from above. He could have taken every setback as an excuse to give up and stop trying, but he didn't. His belief in a positive tomorrow, connected with his love for today, provides him with tremendous value and purpose. His setbacks are not internalized as failures that cannot be overcome, but rather looked at as temporary inabilities. Temporary inabilities that, through time and hard work, he will defeat. He keeps himself motivated, and that energy travels outwards and into all of his interactions with other staff and people in his life. This profession is not a race to beat someone to the top of a mountain. In the end, if we look to compete and be the best, most will find themselves on the top of the mountain alone. Instead of being focused on what matters, teamwork and family, competitors just want to be the best and will do what they can to get to the top. Trust and corrections cannot be built in an environment that promotes self-growth over growth of a team. Successes in one's career should always be surrounded by feelings of happiness, and support, and encouragement. If anything, the teamwork should be reinforced during moments of growth. It's not about saying to yourself, why them and not me? Instead, it's about saying to them in a loud and meaningful voice, congratulations, I got your back. When support is provided in those individuals that are moving forward, moving upwards, then in return, support gets pushed back downwards. It's what I would like to call the circle of loyalty. Even in that high seat above, where I'm required to wear a shirt and tie, I never stay immobile and just look down. Instead, I get up out of my chair, and I like when John Maxwell says, and walk slowly through the crowd. Get to know your people. Get to know the people that run the ship every day. Every day I try my best to support and encourage others to achieve and dream big in this profession. Michael Bertaro, a criminal justice professor and good friend, would call this transformational leadership. Every day a leader should look to empower others to be a leader. Empower others to be a leader themselves by showing them support, guidance, and trust. I am confident no matter how high I go in this profession, that I can do the task ahead of me because there are those on the front line who will do what they can to not let me fail. They have placed me on their shoulders and have carried me to greater heights. They have truly defined what it means to be my brother or sister's keeper. In short, I am who I am as a leader because they allow me to be one. Another story to share. Hopefully you guys take something from it. For those that are becoming supervisors, remember the roots. For those who just didn't get it, don't get discouraged. As always, guys, the show is teared up. If you haven't, please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. Bell's going to notify you every time I post a video. Stay safe.